What's up, Table Rock Fishing Intel Pro members? First off, thanks again for being Intel Pro members. Second off, sorry the video is late this week. I've been on the water, I don't know how long it's been since I've had a day off, but I've been doing a lot of doubles this week and doing a lot of 6 hour plus a 4 hour. I even did an 8 hour plus a 4 hour. So a lot of time on the water this past week. So haven't had time to do this until today. It is Thursday, April 27th, the day it rained. And the reason I have time to do it is my afternoons got canceled out because of the rain. So I was able to get in here and shoot this video for you in the office this evening. Gonna try to get it posted up tonight. Just trying to catch up on everything. As far as our lake level is concerned, we're at 914.66, so about a half foot low. Like I said, we got rain today. I don't think it's going to be enough to really affect the lake level much. We might come up a few tenths, but I don't really see it coming up a couple of feet like we'd see it happen. Water temperature on average, we're right around 62. You will find warmer water up the rivers where you got a little bit of stain up around Cape Fair, actually from point 12 on up. You'll find some warmer water. Definitely find some warmer water in the Kings. But our water temperature has dropped in the last week, and it has affected the bite a little bit. We're still catching quite a few fish. I think it's delayed some of the fish that hadn't moved up and spawned yet. But I do think we're going to have a good spawn this year, and I also think you're going to see a whole other wave of fish move up and spawn next week on that full moon, because I'm still catching a lot of pre-spawn fish, catching them in all three phases, pre-spawn, spawning, and post-spawn. So they are all doing different parts of the deal right now. Of course, you guys know, being a member of Table Rock Fishing Intel, we have been putting a ton of reports out there trying to get you guys as much information to you as quick as we can, as often as we can. Unfortunately, we've got some video stuff that's kind of backlogged because of how busy I am, but hoping to get some of that video stuff put out this weekend as well. Talked to the guy who won the big bass last week, so we definitely want to get his video on there so you guys know what he did, how he caught him. But definitely going to have a lot more information coming out for you. But as far as the fishing is concerned, if you're coming down, going to fish the lower end. I have done a couple of trips on the lower end, and the good news is the bite on the lower end was definitely better this past week than it has been. Most of the fish we caught on the lower end came on two baits. Caught them on a Kitech 2.8, of course. Those fish were either relating to brush or relating to rock on the bottom. Most of them were a little bit deeper than we've been catching them anywhere else. They've been in that 8 to about 15 foot range. You do have a lot of moss down there, so it is difficult to drag, but we have been catching them doing that. More of the rocky banks, ledgy banks, that type of stuff with a swim bait. The other bite that's been working down real well down there is a dragging bite. Now, like I said, there's a lot of moss down there, but you can find some pea gravel points and get out there and fish them a little bit deeper. Back your boat out and hold it in about 20, maybe even 25 foot deep, and throw either a net head, a jewel squirrel head, or a tube, and throw it out there. You want the bait to land in about 10 foot of water and work it back to the boat slow. Actually starting to see some of the smallmouth, a lot of post-spawn smallmouth have started to move up on the gravel on the lower end. So those have been my best two bites there. I did have a topwater bite that was working pretty good before this last front, but that's really, this front's kind of stalled it, and I haven't seen the sunshine in a couple of days, but I think once we get some warmer weather, once we get the sun to come back out again, hopefully this weekend, we'll start to see that topwater bite come back on a surge shad or a spook or a popper, whatever you like to throw as a topwater. You should be able to catch them this weekend and all into next week and going forward for the next couple of months. Coming the mid-lake area, Kimberling City area, fished there today, fished there 2 or 3 days ago. The bite's been really good in the mid-lake area. Catch them on a variety of baits. I continue to catch them on a Kitech there, that 2.8 on a 1/4 ounce head. Fishing it around brush piles, and really I've been using my forward-facing sonar, and you can see the fish in the brush piles, but they're shallower piles. I mean, these are piles that maybe are 10 or 11, 12 foot deep. Throw it over the pile and just reel it back in right over top of it, and you'll actually watch the fish on your forward-facing sonar come up and hit it. So we're catching them and doing that around there, catching them around some rocky banks, some more of the mixed rock, kind of ledge rock stuff, in that 5 to about 15 foot range. There is some moss there in the Kimberling City area, but really doesn't seem to be as bad as it is down by the dam. catching them on a shaky head and a Ned rig and a tube, just like we are down by the dam, mostly on gravel and rock mix points leading back into spawning pockets. I'm not really targeting spawners right now, guys. It's not my jam. It's not what I do, and it's really hard to do when you've got clients. I mean, to sit with one guy on a fish and you got another guy in the back and you just tell him to fan cast, it doesn't work. It's not what we do as guides, so I've not been targeting spawners, but I am seeing a lot of fish still on beds, and like I said, I think another wave's going to move up with those as well. Have been catching a few on a chatterbait, on the jackhammer, around some of the docks, around some of the shallow cover. That bite is definitely better up the rivers than it is down there down in the mid-lake, but we have been catching a few on that. And again, that topwater bite, it was just starting to fire off, and it's starting to get away from us because of the weather, but I really feel like that topwater bite next week, and probably over the weekend with a surge shad or a spook or something like that, is going to be a real strong bite over this weekend. So keep that in mind if you're fishing over the weekend. Go up the James, definitely catch them on a jig up the James. Caught a lot of fish on a pro spider jig up there, flipping shallow cover, flipping around boat docks, flipping shallow brush piles, flipping laydowns. There's not nearly as much moss, especially once you get from point 12 on up, probably even a little bit further down. There's not nearly as much moss up the James as there are other areas of the lake, so we've been catching them on a jewel pro spider jig, 7/16, you know the colors, Okeechobee blue, bass whacker, that sort of thing, with a speed craw as a trailer around a lot of that shallow cover. Also catching them on a shaky head, throwing the squirrel head with a Senko on it as my trailer, using the 5-inch green pumpkin, purple flake Senko, putting a little chartreuse on the tail. Same deal, around that shallow cover, around those rocks, some of those points leading back into the spawning pockets, definitely catching them doing that. My best chatterbait bite or jackhammer bite is definitely up the James around the shallow cover. Get around that shallow wood, any of that shallow wood cover. I seem to be able to pick a fish or two off of it. And again, I'm using my forward-facing sonar even when I'm that shallow to see those fish and start picking them off. And then, of course, the topwater bite. The topwater bite, again, got away from us, but we are starting to see some topwater fish. We get this water warm back up, and you'll be able to catch them on a surge and on a spook, and probably some on a buzzbait as well around some of this shallow cover. Just the sheer number of fish I'm seeing on this shallow cover, I would definitely recommend having a buzzbait laying on your deck once this water warms up if you're going up the James or up the Kings or even up Long Creek. There should be a really good buzzbait bite coming ahead. White River, I've spent a ton of time up the White River this last week. It seems like most of my trips have been either out of Baxter, Shell Knob, or even further up. The best bite I've got up there has been with a Kitech swim bait. I mean, it's just, as far as a numbers game, I can go out day in, day out with a Kitech 2.8 on a 1/4 ounce head, target brush, target those rocky points, keep it just off of the bottom, and catch fish after fish after fish. I'm not catching a lot of big keepers, but we are catching keepers. The better bite for keepers has been either with a Jewel Pro Spider jig or the Jewel Squirrel Head with the Senko on it, and fishing a little bit deeper, fishing in that 8 to about 15-foot range. And it seems like if I can find a few fish in a pocket or on a point, if I can find 1 or 2, I can usually catch 4 or 5 or 6 off of 1 point. So stay on those points, keep working those points, and having a little bit of rock mixed into the gravel is very important. Topwater bite, again, was getting good, and then we got a cold front. Should be good next week. Seeing a lot of schools of shad. Starting to think these shad are going to start, if it warms up, if we get it back up into the upper 60s like we were before, we're going to see a shad spawn. And you're definitely going to want to have a topwater tied on, and you're going to want to have either a spinnerbait or a jackhammer tied on to chase those fish that are chasing the shad spawn. So keep both those baits in mind if we start to get a shad spawn, especially if it starts to warm up. Have caught a few on the jackhammer this past week, mostly up the Kings though, and mostly on the ends of channel swings leading into pockets around some of the laydowns and that sort of stuff. By the way, if you guys like the crappie fish, the crappie are on the bank up the Kings. It was much better before this front, but there's still quite a few crappie up there on the bank in the Kings and in Long Creek. I've been throwing a Kitech Easy Shiner, 2-inch Easy Shiner, in any of the white varieties of white, whether it be French Pearl or Sightfish or any of that, throwing on a 1/16 ounce head and painting the tail chartreuse, and just throwing it around the laydowns, on the ends of channel swings, and back in the pockets, any piece of wood. I've had some really good crappie days this past couple of weeks, so if you guys are into crappie fishing, you want to go catch something to eat, you definitely want to have a little Kitech tied on and go up any of the rivers, whether it be the Kings, up Long Creek, or even up the James. I know guys are catching them up the James. I have not been up there and fished for crappie, but I'm sure you can do the same thing up the James that we're doing in the other rivers right now. So there's a lot of good bites going on. Guys, it's spring. It doesn't feel like it. It's 50 degrees and raining and crappie outside, but we know spring's going to get here. After this rain pushes through, it's supposed to be a nice warm week next week, and I really think we're going to see the topwater bite kick on. You're going to see the chatterbait bite, spinnerbait bite really kick back in again, kind of how it was before we got this weather. But the fishing's been good. Like I said, I think there'll be probably one more wave of spawners move up next week on the full moon. I think it's on the 5th or the 6th. So if you like the sight fish, you're still going to get another week of sight fishing after this weekend. But the bite's been good, catching a lot of fish. As you guys know, the best way to stay on top of it, use that pro membership. You got the Table Rock Fishing Intel and get all those daily reports. We got a bunch of different guides out there catching fish, posting what they're doing, trying to help you catch more fish on Table Rock Lake. If you're coming down though, want to hire a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743 or hit my website, focusfishing.com. Either way, I get back to you as soon as I can. You can shoot me an email, book online, whatever you want to do. Guys, thanks again for being pro members, Table Rock Fishing Intel. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.